one thing that I will say about Klint Kubiak is last week I talked about how the Seahawks might have a budget quarterback option that's pretty good for the price in Kirk Cousins. If the Atlanta Falcons release Kirk Cousins, he'll be on the same trajectory as Russell Wilson was, where any team that signs him is only responsible for whatever. They don't have to take on his salary in Atlanta. And in fact, Atlanta is paying him a guaranteed salary in 2025, regardless of where he plays. The only thing that would reduce how much Atlanta pays is if he signed a deal with another team and then they pay him just his salary less what he makes with the new team. So Kirk Cousins has no incentive to make the Seahawks or a team that signs him pay a bunch of money. In fact, the Seahawks, I might not have explained this very well based on the comments on that. I posted a clip of it, by the way. I'm not arguing that Kirk Cousins is markedly better or markedly worse than Gino Smith. I have these guys in roughly the same category. I mean, I think Gino had a better year in 2024, but I also, were the Seahawks to have had Michael Penix sitting behind Gino Smith, it's possible that Michael Penix takes over for Gino Smith midseason also. So if you view those guys as roughly the same caliber of quarterback, and you could pay Kirk Cousins the same thing Russell Wilson was paid by the Steelers this year. Not what Russell Wilson made in 2024, but what he was paid by the Steelers, which was $1.1 million. Even if you have to cut Geno Smith, which I don't necessarily think I want the Seahawks to do, but I also don't know that there's going to be a vast trade market for Geno Smith. I certainly don't think there's going to be a lot of people out there that want to pay him $30+ million a year. We saw that a couple years ago. I don't think that this year is the platform year to get him his, Baker Mayfield extension. To me, if you can get the same play for roughly $30 million less, and you have to cut Geno Smith to save that $30 million, because by the way, Geno Smith's his cap number is like $44 million. But he's got like $13 million in dead cap, which brings it down to $31 million in savings. If you paid Kirk Cousins $1.1 million, that's where we get to the $30 million. You save $30 million. Now, the Seahawks are $27 million over the cap, so that immediately pulls them out of the cap hell that they're in. So here's the question, because you gotta get down that amount. Are the Seahawks better off with Geno Smith and not, let's say, DK Metcalf and Noah Fant? You have to trade away DK Metcalf. You have to cut Noah Fant. They're probably, no matter what they do, they're probably not going to bring back Tyler Lockett on his present deal or Draymond Jones at all, period. But is Geno Smith minus DK Metcalf minus Noah Fant, or Kirk Cousins, DK Metcalf, and Noah Fant? Or maybe more accurately, let's say you're going to move on from all those guys, which I do think is a possibility. I think everybody should be considered movable, tradable in the offseason if they have value. How about Geno Smith or Kirk Cousins plus 2 high-quality interior linemen? Who's better? What's better? To me, those guys aren't. I actually think Geno Smith is a slightly better quarterback than Kirk Cousins. But who do I think would provide the most value? Geno Smith or Kirk Cousins, and the pieces you could afford because you're opting for Kirk Cousins instead of Geno Smith? Probably going the guys that you can afford that package with Kirk Cousins. So to compound on that, by the way, Klint Kubiak coached Kirk Cousins in Minnesota in his most productive years. I think 2019 through 2021. I think that's right. Let me go back to the. Yeah, so he was quarterbacks coach in 19 and 20, offensive coordinator in Minnesota in 21, and Kirk Cousins in those years had, what do you have? Come on now. 3,600 yards, 26 touchdowns, 6 interceptions in 2019. He had 42, 65, 35, and 13 in 2021, he had 4,221 yards, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. 2-time Pro Bowler in the time that Klint Kubiak coached him. Is this the same Kirk Cousins? almost certainly no. But Kirk Cousins had like zero mobility in 2024. I believe that I remember it was some just preposterously high shotgun snap percentage for a guy that just could not move around. But and he's coming off of in the years that followed Klint Kubiak in Minnesota, he had more interceptions, a higher interception rate anyway, I should say. And last year he led the NFL in interceptions. But again, he's still recovering from an Achilles injury that happened somewhat late in the season. He's an older quarterback. Is the Kirk Cousins that's available potentially, assuming the Falcons cut him, which I do think will happen, but it's not necessarily a foregone conclusion. Is that Kirk Cousins, 37-year-old, 2 years removed from an Achilles tear, as good as the 2019 through 2021 Kirk Cousins? No, I don't think so. Is that guy better than the guy from 2024? Probably. That guy was not great. I will grant that. I don't think that Kirk Cousins is a long-term solution at quarterback. But if you have to weigh these two short-term solutions against each other, Kirk Cousins or Gino Smith, all things being equal, I would like Gino Smith, but all things are not equal. Gino Smith is significantly more expensive. And there's all this talk about like, oh, if you get rid of Gino, you lose the locker room. Well, it's 2 years without being in the playoffs. Fuck the locker room. We're done caring about the locker room.